Damn.
Hello everyone, it's Eddie of the Political Jargon Show. Welcome to the Political Jargon Show. Today is January 14th, 2019. I've got a little bit of stories to talk about. I want to talk about Lou Dobbs and Steve King and the 2020 presidential election. All that more coming up on the Political Jargon Show for January 14th, 2019. I hope everyone had a great holiday season and a great Thanksgiving, Christmas, Hanukkah, Boxing Day, New Year's. I did. It was very well needed, very great. But I want to go ahead and just start with the news. Start with everything going on. Start with Steve King's comments about white supremacy and being a white supremacist. I got the Guardian here. The Guardian here. And it says a 9-term Republican congressman and close ally of Donald Trump, known for making racially provocative statements, said in an interview published Thursday that he did not understand why phrases white nationalist and white supremacist had become offensive. Congressman Steve King, who has represented his rural Iowa district in Washington since 2003, made the remarks in an interview with the New York Times. Quote, white nationalist, white supremacist, Western civilization. How did that language become offensive? King said. Why did I sit in classes teaching me about the merits of our history and our civilization? Now, not only is this like horribly gross and racist and awful, but it feeds into this alt-right talking point and narrative of like Western civilization is bad and leftists and liberals are fighting for Eastern civilization or something like that, which is just false. I mean, that's just false. I mean, I don't think I have to explain why being a white nationalist has a bad connotation to it, mainly because of the people who inherit the term white nationalist. And honestly, the debate goes down even further because what's the definition of nationalist? Now, there's multiple different definitions of nationalist. You can be a nationalist in the sense of like, I want a nation's sovereignty. I'm fighting for independence for my nation. I mean, that's a textbook definition of nationalism, or nationalist. And then there's other nationalists being a patriot, but super hardcore, and, the nationalist of, like, Hitler and stuff. But it just depends on who's framing the argument. I don't know. I don't know about Steve King and what his definition of nationalist is, but white nationalist has a bad connotation to it, yes, because, I get told that the left wants to make everything about race, but you can be a nationalist without being you can be a nationalist. You can be a nationalist for the United States. That's fine. I mean, the rhetoric coming from you will probably be just awful. But why does it got to be a white nationalist? What does that mean? What's the rhetoric behind that? Right, so you're for white people in the nation that you're representing, claiming to be a nationalist for? Is that what that means? That's the question I have for Steve King. Why does it got to be a white nationalist? Why can't you just be a nationalist for the United States? Right, but I know where his rhetoric is coming from, because Steve King is a racist bigot because his next words are white supremacist. He's arguing that they're the same thing or relatively close. So, of course, when he says white nationalist, he's being a racist and a bigot. That's not hard to comprehend. That's not hard to understand. PragerU did a video on why it's, the virtue of nationalism. And I saw a great video by Paula Dice. He's a great YouTuber, very low, higher than me though. I have 15 subscribers. He has like almost 9,000, almost 10,000 subscribers, I think. And he broke it down very well. He used the definitions of nationalist, and the list that PragerU gave him was like Theodore Roosevelt, Woodrow Wilson, Ronald Reagan, Margaret Thatcher, Gandhi, Thatcher is the most accurate nationalist, but like then the definition that he gave and examples of nationalism covered a wide array of different ideas, principles, and ideals all over the political spectrum. Like a nationalist. So let's go ahead and see, like, okay, a nationalist. When I hear that, what do I hear? I hear someone who is prideful of their country. So why would you include Woodrow Wilson, who created the League of Nations after World War I? Like Paula Dice breaks it down beautifully. Like, you can't be a nationalist and then be be the president of the United States. You can't be a nationalist and then be a part of the founding of the first international organization after World War I, yet still claim to be a nationalist. That's not how that works. Words have meaning, and I don't think right-wingers understand that words have meaning. They just spew shit until they finally get something. I don't have to break down why white supremacist is racist. And then this talking point of like Western civilization, that's just dog whistle politics to the alt-right of like, oh, this is all culture, and our culture is going to be destroyed, and our culture and society is going to break apart, and the people that we believe and all, our culture is going to be broken down because of the invasion of the browning of America. Our culture, Western civilization ideals and principles as we know it. It's just, that's just red meat to the super far right wingers who are like, culture is everything, and our culture is being destroyed day in, day out by the Browns, like that's what that means, right? And like, I also don't understand the second part of this either, because like, why did I sit in classes teaching me about the merits of our history and our civilization? Yeah, sure, our civilization has merits, our society has merits, but like, to not acknowledge the fact that we fuck up is also just, I would say you're more of a nationalist if you talk about the fuck-ups of your country than just, hey, we're the best, we're the greatest, and that's all we have to it. We didn't do anything. We've never done anything wrong. You're more of a patriot if you talk about what's wrong and what you did wrong in your history than just spouting out and believing that you did nothing wrong or that it was in your best interest. Either way, you look horribly racist. I mean, from my eyes. Now there'll be people all over this country who will eat that shit up and be like, "Oh fuck yeah, Steve King! Yeah, Steve King's the best." I mean, like there are people on the right who I believe you can reach, you could sit down, you could talk to, you could explain, like, listen, yeah, sure, your wages have gone stagnant, but it's not because of Jose Rodriguez down the street. It's because the business owner is trying to save as much profit as possible, and he's getting tax cuts from the federal government, but yet you're struggling and you can't pay the bills. I mean, there are people out there who I believe the left could talk to, but the people who support Steve King and like Steve King, they're too far gone, man. Save your breath, man. There's no reason to go after Steve King fans and Donald and the most hardcore Donald Trump fans and people like Milo Yiannopoulos and Ben Shapiro. Some of those people have gone absolutely crazy and they're absolutely deplorable. And those are the people you should not go after. Now there's some moderate Donald Trump supporters. Donald Trump in and of itself is not moderate, but there are people who are just confused about economic policy. Of like when Donald Trump said, Hillary Clinton and Ted Cruz, they all take money from Goldman Sachs. Okay, believe me, I will fight for you. I am for you. He's right. But then when he appoints 5 Goldman Sachs people to run his economy, Steve Mnuchin, Gary Cohn, a bunch of other people from Goldman Sachs and from other banks, they got played. He's a con artist, and those people need to be taught, need to be shown that, need to be explained that. Maybe if they're shown that, they'll move to the left of like, okay, yeah, you're false, and your taxes, like 87% of all the benefits received from the tax